Yo, we're on.
I know what you're thinking from the title, but we're not talking about that kind of lean. And if you grew up in the 2000s like me, you're thinking of Fat Joe.
Now lean back.
Lean back.
Lean back. Lean back. Come on. Now lean back. Lean back. Lean back. Lean back. Come on.
But we're not talking about that either, guys. Today, I have a serious topic that I feel like sometimes I drop the ball on with our targets, and that is some of the functional aspects of why we do what we do and why we created our targets the way that we created them. And all jokes aside, although they were horrible, and I am a dad, so I do make dad jokes, there is a serious topic here at play. And it's important that you understand the why behind it. And these targets are leaning, and there's a reason for that. So, let's talk about it. Anytime you look at any of our ADAP systems, you're going to see, if you take the pin off and look at the back of the plate, that the angles are adjustable. So there are multiple holes down each side of these angles. There's a very specific reason for that. And if you haven't to date watched the video that I'm about to refer you to, we did a whole video on steel target safety. We're gonna put a card up above my head right now and a link in the description so you guys can check that out after this video. We also talk about this topic a little bit in there, but we didn't go into depth. So today I want to talk about why we have some forward lean on our target systems. Now I'm going to set this down for 1 second here and explain what's happening when bullets are impacting steel. So you take our C-zone plate here, and this guy is well used and abused. As you can see, 2x4 has been out here for quite some time. It's got some good lean to it. Lean. Brenton, throw a lean back thing in here again. It's got some nice lean to it, but either way, this is a well-used, well-seasoned target. And our ADAP system is very unique in the fact that when a bullet hits, it's got some movement. And that's important because bullets, when they hit things, if the steel is harder than the bullet's gonna disintegrate into 1,000 tiny little pieces. Don't quote me on the quantity of pieces. It could be 1,001 or it could be 20, but it breaks into tiny little pieces and that fragmentation ends up going out to the sides, up and down. Now we can control that because of physics, and physics is pretty cool. So when that bullet hits a flat plate, like this one is currently positioned in, you're gonna get essentially a 360-degree circle of fragmentation that goes out. Now, one thing to note is bullets never do this and come straight back. This is a pin, I'm just using that as an example. Bullets don't do this. It's just not possible. There's only one exception to that, and that's if you're using crappy steel, because crappy steel can make a crater. If it makes a crater and the bullet can't exit through the entire plate, what ends up happening is that fragmentation follows those curves of that crater, and that's what comes back to shooters. And that can kill you, it can hurt you, it's very dangerous. It's important that you're using proper steel. But there's a lot of misconceptions and people think that bullets can just bounce back, and that's just not the case, even with a straight target like this. So with this target in this position, let's pretend that it couldn't move at all. Bullet hits this, it's gonna get a 360-degree fan. About the furthest that it can deflect back off of the plate is about 12 to 15 degrees. So if you think of that circle, you've got a circle that is completely parallel with the surface here. It's in line with the surface, and then out about 12 to 15 degrees. That's where your fragmentation is going to go if your plate is fixed and cannot move and it's perfectly vertical. One of the things that we did with the ADAP system was create movement in that plate. So even calibers like 22 are gonna have some energy behind them. When they impact the steel, it's gonna move that plate. And when that plate moves, that is going to send most of that fragmentation down to the ground. What it also does is reduce the amount of energy that that bullet is transferring to the plate. As we all know, you can't change or you can't eliminate energy. It changes from one form to another. So when we've got that motion, we've got that energy flying with that bullet, we're actually transferring it to the plate. If we allow that plate to move somewhat, then you're gonna absorb more of that energy. And gravity hates me today. I'm gonna not drop this for the rest of the video. So we've got that movement down, but how else can you possibly make your targets last longer and be more safe and even better control the fragmentation? Well, I'll show you. We know that when we add more forward lean, we can control that bullet fragmentation even better. So just to give you an example, this is the topmost hole on the mini ADAP plate. So you can see it still has some forward lean, but it's not very aggressive. If I pop that pin out and I set it on its steepest setting, you can see how drastic that forward lean now has become. And that's important because we still have the movement, but now we've got this aggressive 40-degree lean, and it throws that fragmentation actually behind the base. And if you own any of these systems or you've used our systems, you've seen that, where there's a trench behind the base that is actually formed. And that's awesome because this limits the wear and tear on your base as well. And the fragmentation is not going to wear out your base, but what it does do is chip up the paint, and you've got to keep your bases touched up. There is a downside to the steep forward lean, and what that is from the front, you're actually distorting that shape a little bit. So if you're a true competitive shooter and you're trying to train on a specific shape and size, you probably do want that as close to vertical with just a little bit of forward lean as possible, because you are skewing that image when you have that lean forward at 45 degrees. The other negative of this, if you're using a wood 2x4 post, which most people that run our systems do, you're gonna really destroy that 2x4 a lot quicker when you're in the steepest setting. In my opinion though, I run all of my personal mini 8-ap targets at the steepest setting. I like that added safety benefit. I like that there's less wear and tear on the targets because we're essentially fragging those bullets and skipping them off the plate. If you have a plate like this and it's perfectly vertical and you shoot into it, that bullet has to completely absorb on the face, the energy I should say, on the face of that plate. And you just need to have an even stronger plate to be able to withstand that. It's just not ideal from a service life standpoint. So on the mini 8-ap systems, we have 3 different holes for adjustment. And then on the C-zone plate, which I'll take you over here and show you real quick, we've got even more adjustment. And there's a reason for this, and I'll go over that real quick. This guy is heavy. All right, so flipping this guy around. So as you guys can see, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He knows how to count. Yay!
Will you count with me? Okay, thanks. Here we go. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
We got 7 holes here to adjust. The reason this was important is back in the day, we had a lot of different military units and departments that were saying our targets need to have a 45-degree forward lean. And while I don't think that's entirely necessary for everybody, the reality is we did try to accommodate. And as you can see, the C-zone on the furthest setting is going to have that 45-degree lean angle. So if you have or work for a company or a department that says our steel must be at a 45-degree lean angle, this is a solid plate to choose for that because this does meet that requirement. And as you guys can see, it does distort that front image, like I said before, versus being straight up and down. So if you're trying to train on a true C-zone, this might not be the best move for you. You might want to put it at one of the higher holes. But ultimately, guys, we make steel targets that are extremely safe in any setting. Any hole setting that you put these on, they're extremely safe. They're going to do their job. But what we also want to do is check every single box off that's possible by offering all kinds of different features with these systems so that you ultimately have the safest targets on the planet, and they're going to be the most useful targets on the planet for you, because at the end of the day, my intentions as an owner of this company is to create products that assist you in a real way, that help you to become a better asset to your community. I'm not about people getting out and just plinking guns and shooting cans, although I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that the moment that you choose to be a defender, you should take it seriously, purchase tools that are going to help you become better at defending, and then invest in that skill set. So that's just a quick rundown of these plates and how they work. It's one of those things that I feel like I just didn't do enough of. I didn't take enough time over the years to really explain to people the why behind all of the different adjustments. And I know that some people get confused when they purchase their system and they don't know which hole to run their pin in and what lean angle to run. And ultimately, I'm just going to close this video with this. It doesn't really matter. I will say, if you want the longest life possible and you're a really abusive shooter, you're really high volume, I would suggest putting it at a steeper lean angle, so long as you don't mind that the actual image and shape of the target is somewhat distorted on that steeper setting. If you don't mind blowing through 2x4 boards a little bit quicker, then definitely run it at the steeper settings. If that's not for you, or you're mostly shooting handguns, or maybe you're shooting long distance and you want that true size shape shown, run it at one of the top holes. Ultimately, it's still going to do its job. It's still going to do everything it's designed to do, and it's still going to be safe. No matter what, we still got the movement. We still have all of the other features and functions. So guys, if you have any other questions about our targets, please leave us some comments, let us know, shoot us some emails, because ultimately seeing those comments and that feedback is what kind of triggers me to get out and create these topics so that I can educate you guys a little bit more about our systems. But if you like what you saw and you're in the market for steel targets, I would ask that you consider to support our company. You know, that's the only way that we can continue to do videos and make content and training stuff. This is our bread and butter. We make steel targets, and we have some other cool stuff on our website as well. But even more than that, if you guys need gear for your weapon platforms, your optics, different stuff for training, check out our website as well, because we have a new section called hard goods gear. We're actually going to be building out a new website. So the link in the description is where you need to go for all of those different training tools and equipment. Guys, we appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, comment down below. See you guys in the next one. Creative juices are flowing.